Hey, how's it going? I'm Mehdi.
What's going on, man? Nice to meet you. All right, so first, before I start, I need to know what you mean by good. I can talk about the economy, I can talk about culture, I can talk about all those things. I need to know what you mean.
All of them.
All of them.
I'm saying immigrants are good for the economy. They're good for
you think
culture.
Lower wages are
they're
good for the economy?
society. Where's the lower wages?
What do you mean, where's the lower wages?
Where are the lower wages?
Yeah, so you can
What's
look
the
at
basis for saying there are lower wages?
Sure, so you can look at like the STEM industry. It's been in like a complete and total recession. There's been tons of studies like from the Economic Policy Institute that shows that like companies like Tesla, companies from like Silicon Valley, they engaged in mass firing of workers, around 35,000, but then they hired around 12,000 H-1B visas. And it's kind of just standard economic thinking.
It's not standard economic thinking. The vast majority of economists and economic studies suggest that there is a negligible, if no impact on wages over time from immigrants. In fact, your colleague mentioned earlier, construction, there is actually evidence in construction, yes. But in some industries, in some areas, there is an impact. But overall, no. In fact, a study from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that migrants since 1965 have raised wages and raised innovation.
Who's that by?
National Bureau for Economic Research.
No, hold on. That's where you publish studies. I'm asking
yes,
for
I didn't memorize the names of the authors.
Yeah, I know you didn't, right?
Can you give me the authors you've got?
Yeah, hold on. The study you're talking about is from Giovanni Perry, and what he did is he didn't account for aggregation issues, nor did he...
The vast majority of studies...
Let me speak.
Please.
Yeah, thank you, right? So listen, he didn't account for aggregation issues, right? And when you look at like the spatial approach, which is what all these economists use, you're not accounting for the fact that when immigrants come into an area, natives leave. If you look at an occupational approach where you look at the specific firms that immigration's going into, like Kim, ETAL 2013 did, you find a net negative impact when there's a 10% increase of immigration. You find around a 0.5% decline in wages when it comes to the specific occupations they're going to.
So
all your studies are flawed.
So 0.5%. Weigh that up against what I just mentioned from the Congressional Budget Office, which is a massive boost in GDP per head, which you're not counting for, massive increase in tax revenue, immigrants actually funding the deficits and debts by paying way more in taxes proportionately, including undocumented immigrants. And what's interesting about wages is, I'm in a room full of, I don't know what to call you anymore, conservatives, Republicans, fascists, I don't know. One of you has proudly said that.
Call us correct.
One of us proudly, correct. I'm in a room full of correct people, but do any of you actually care about wages? Because for example,
I actually do,
For example, do you support raising the minimum wage?
Absolutely, and you can't do that when you're bringing all these people coming into
our country. That's not the reason the Republican Party blocks the minimum wage. You think Republican politicians don't vote for an increase in minimum wage because they're worried about immigration.
Did I say I voted Republican? Did I say I voted Republican?
Well, I'm on a show that was called 25 Far-Right Republicans.
That doesn't mean I'm going to support every single Republican candidate.
So you and I, let's agree. We both support raising the minimum wage. Yes?
100%.
$7.25 since 2009. It's lost 30% of its value. If you care about wages, we should be raising the minimum wage in this country, not scapegoating migrants who aren't the cause of low wages in the country. You know who's causing low wages? Billionaires, millionaires, and people who won't pay fair wages to their wages, regardless of whether you are an immigrant or a native-born
I get the monologue,
American.
right? Now let me respond.
You had one with your one study that had a 0.5% impact. Go.
Yeah, and your study sucked that you didn't even know who wrote it, right? So let's get back to the point, right?
Because I don't need to
know
one
there it goes
study.
Again.
The majority of studies say that wages are not impacted by migration.
The majority of your studies are flawed. That's what I'm telling you.
Not my studies. Right. Neither of us are economists. It's the economist studies.
Don't assume who I am.
Are you an economist?
I could be.
But are you?
I could be.
Are you?
I'm not going to tell you.
Are you?
I'm going to major in economics, right?
Are you an economist?
No, not right now.
Okay, so when I said neither is economist, I was correct.
Just don't assume.
To use your favorite word.
See here, dude, this is nothing of substance. You look at the red flags; they're coming up. Let me get to the point.
Great, but
so
when you talk
about the CBO, one thing you're not accounting for here is that they're assuming an equilibrium, right? Do you know what that means? You shouldn't make these type of assumptions. You said earlier that unemployment.
Do I know what it means? I thought we're not doing assumptions.
Okay, hold on. You mentioned we were at 4.2% unemployment. Yeah, that's counting people who have part-time jobs. That's counting poverty wages. That's how it's always been counted. Yeah,
I'm against poverty wages. Can we agree again?
Yes. If you go to the Lookwood Institute, they calculated a way where it's functional unemployment. Okay. If you account for things like just people who make around $25,000 a year, people who have fallen out of the labor market, people who only work part-time, if you count all of those people together and then add on the unemployment, that's around 25% of the population. So when you go, we don't have jobs, we don't have people to do this, and that, and the other. No, yes, we do. Okay, we don't have a labor shortage. We have a good job shortage. And when you keep bringing these people in, and they're taking those jobs.
The good job shortage is the fault of big firms, employers. I'm an employer, I can say that.
Who hires the immigrants?
Who hires the immigrants?
Yeah.
Employers.
Exactly. So when you bring up these big firms, that's the way that keeps wages down. You understand that, right?
So let me ask you a question. If you got rid of all immigrants coming in tomorrow, moratorium, you think that Republicans and employers of big firms would suddenly raise all the wages.
You notice
That's
how
what
you
you
didn't answer
believe.
what I said. You
That's
notice
what
how
you
it
believe.
was a complete. Your ankles
That's what
all
you
right?
believe.
You pivoted the hell
That's what
away
you
from the
believe.
conversation.
Is that what you? I'm on
Are
the
your ankles
subject.
okay?
Do you believe that wages? I'm just wondering how naive you are. You believe that the 1% will raise wages in the federal wage
They will
if
be
we
forced
stop
to.
immigration?
They will be forced to.
It's great
When you
being as
increase
naive.
labor's relationship to capital, okay, and you give labor more bargaining power because you're
But
tightening the
this is a
supply
very
of
simplistic
labor.
understanding of economics because you're
Okay,
not,
explain I'm wrong.
I'm telling you how you're wrong.
here.
Because you're ignoring the fact that when immigrants come into an area, they spend money. They create jobs simply through their presence.
1/5 of their monthly income leaves the country.
That's a good thing also because you don't like US aid, foreign aid. So this is the point. They create
Don't
jobs. I
assume
came
that.
into this country. So far, every one of my assumptions about you has been correct. But listen to me. I am an immigrant. I'm speaking from personal experience.
Get the hell out.
I don't even like. I should get the hell out.
Yes.
Why?
I don't want you here.
Why?
Because you come here and say all this bullshit
Why?
about how Americans are lazy.
Why?
You push your left-wing
I never
politics.
said Americans are
I don't
lazy.
know why you say this.
I never said Americans
yes,
are lazy.
you are. You're
The only person
saying
attacking
immigrants
people
have
is
to
you.
come into this country so they can do jobs that we don't want to do.
I
That's
never
exactly
said those
what
words.
you said.
When did I say it?
Oh, really? You
When did
didn't
I
say
say
that?
it?
So
We're
why
on
do we-
YouTube. Guys watching on YouTube, rewind to the time where I said immigrants are doing jobs we don't want to do. When did I say those words? Words
You
never
said-
came out of my mouth.
Okay, so why do we have to bring in immigrants? Why do we have to bring in immigrants to the country if we have people who are going to do the jobs?
Pause. You've been voted out.